Hey, I wanted to say thank you very much for those two videos, Paul Talk. Quite a lengthy, detailed explanation. I'm particularly going to go back and listen to your left-right dissection, your explanation. That was particularly good. And how it relates to Heideggerianism. I'm going to go back and re-listen to that, possibly multiple times, just because, it's a different way. And anyone who hasn't seen this, I would encourage them to go see it. That was on Paul Talk's videos. The second one, I mean, they were both good, but the second one really had that deeper dissection. I mean, maybe you should even think about making that a standalone video, because it was particularly good. So for that part, I'm going to go back and re-listen, dissect it, and think about that more. Don't you love this beautiful highway? I mean, don't you want to move back to the good old USA, capitalism and cars and progress? But yeah, just to clarify a few things, what I was trying to do in that video was compare murdering people for race or ethnic affiliation. And the example I was trying to say was the Dylann Roof murder in Charleston, where 9 people, he went into a church and joined their Bible study or their sermon or whatever and blew them away, which was horrible. I think you thought I meant the shooting of unarmed black men, because last year there was 9 unarmed black people or something killed. I don't know. But that wasn't what I was talking about. I was talking about the Charleston shooting as an example of executing people for their race versus, and I said the librarian example just because, killing librarians is just for their profession. Or it could be like pizza boys or something non-racial or non-ethnic. That was the example I was giving as kind of a direct comparison. So nothing to do with Black Lives Matter bullshit. Second thing I wanted to say was, you were talking about Kyle and his viewpoint that, the high IQ should rule, which is kind of a proxy for saying we should have a hierarchy where the strong rule, or the gifted, the able rule. But it kind of sounded like you were saying, like he was saying, or you were saying, that's a proxy for Jews ruling. But I definitely don't think that's what he was saying. He was saying the able and best should rule. Your Donald Trumps, your Jeff Bezoses, whether they be Jewish, Asian, WASP, Catholic, whatever the case. I mean, that's the way I interpret it, his viewpoint on that. But again, he has hours and hours of him ranting about this, so maybe I missed some. I don't know. By the way, I went to look at this fucking crazy motherfucker. I hate motorcyclists. I went to look for that video, Facebook bans white nationalism, that you clipped in that other video. And Luke has privated all his old edgy stuff, because like everybody, the censorship. And he's put it on BitChute and whatever that streaming service is. So if you want to find all that old edgy content, that's where you got to go. Yeah, I mean, the Israel thing, I'm not an Israeli history expert, but I have read about it. It is an interesting history. It is a confusing history. But, I mean, I think the way I described it was accurate. You're saying Israel didn't ethnically cleanse anybody. I mean, as far as I understand, yes, Arabs fled because of the ongoing war. Some of them were told to flee or they fled for safety. But I mean, as far as I understand, Israel did go into villages. In the worst cases, they killed villagers. And in some cases, they disbanded villagers and made them leave because convoys were under attack. And as far as I understand, yeah, they were considering a viable future state. So whether you want to call that ethnic cleansing or making people leave and leave the area, people argue about it. I mean, I came to the realization that Israel saying that, you know, none of this happened was sort of whitewashing what occurred. So, I mean, I don't know. Historians debate this. If you have a strong opinion on the subject, you know, feel free to enlighten me as you're trying to do in other areas. But, yeah, and then, I mean, yeah, you bring up good points about comparing the horribleness of different regimes, but I'm just trying to say there's no single factor or two factors where you can do that. Like, it's not just about body count, it's not just about the way something is done. I mean, it's pretty complex, and learned historians debate all of this vigorously all the time, so I don't know. But as far as mistreating, whether it's killing or disliking or hating people for their racial characteristics versus their beliefs or something that's not dependent on their racial identity or their ethnic identity, I don't know, that's just a hard one. Because then you'd be saying hating librarians is no worse than, like, hating black people, which seems kind of a crazy proposition in today's society and how we're taught to socialize. I don't know. I'll think more about it, but that just seems like a tough one. And I don't know, just to dismiss somebody's history online, what they're doing, just to say, oh, it's trolling. Like a couple of trolls, you know, years worth of online activity, and what they're saying is just all trolling. I mean, couldn't you say the same thing about Luke Ford? So, like, what he's doing and the effects it has on people, well, that's all negated by the fact that it's just trolling. I mean, maybe E. Michael Jones is trolling. Maybe he actually really fucking is trolling. Who knows with that guy? But the problem is the effect that this has on people. I mean, I made a series of videos because you got into a pretty rigorous disagreement with Luke Ford, and I mean, you didn't come to much common ground on anything. But I mean, I was agreeing with much of what you were saying, or maybe half agreeing. I don't know, because like I'm really a big Luke Ford fan of his show and what he's brought to the table and the discussions that he's created. But that was a worry of mine of, yeah, the gateway to harmful ideas and the effect this is having on people. And, you know, I blame people for going down dark paths, but there can be dangerous catalysts out there, whether it's a show like that or the YouTube algorithm that suggests, you know, World War II revisionism and other dark paths. I think it definitely that definitely has an effect. But then what about somebody like Melky through his Twitter, YouTube, etc., whatever online activity having an effect on people? He has a smaller following than Luke Ford, but it's not a nothing following. So an educator blaming everything on, Jews trying to reclaim and justify and legitimize Hitlerian views. I mean, that has an effect on people too. So just to dismiss that, it's just trolling. I mean, it just seems like a cop-out to me. Like, I understand that you like Melky, and I like Luke Ford, but I thought it was a truthful observation on your part that to bring up the risk factors, effects that a show like that can have. And I think in the future, well, everything's fucking changed with all this censorship bullshit. But I think in the future, what you said about Luke Ford's show, I think he'll consider some of what you said, at least a little bit. All right, that's just what I had off the top of my head. I want to watch your videos more because they were good. So thank you, and have a good weekend.